If it's about love, if it's about justice.
Hey, what's up everybody? This is Austin Haynes with the Waking Justice Project, and this is your daily wake-up call. Here's what the Corporatocracy is up to today, December 16th, 2019. This is our Monday Roundup edition in case you missed any of our podcasts last week. You can visit our website at wakingjustice.org for more details. Here are the headlines. Every Friday on your daily wake-up call, we spotlight one of our favorite indie journos who is working to expose the hard truths of the US-led corporatocracy. These are the revolutionary journalists who make us ask, why aren't we all freaking out about this shit? We call it Freak Out Friday, and last Friday, we shine the spotlight on indie journo Tim Black. Tim is the founder and CEO of TBTV, which Tim says is America's most watched black independent media on the left. He's also the writer and host of the popular daily YouTube series, The Tim Black Show. Tim covers the full spectrum of issues for the progressive left, and he's doing a really great job covering the Democratic primary right now. Plus, Tim is one of the few indie journos on the left who consistently covers issues of racial justice. As we discussed in our podcast Friday, Tim understands that racism is a core mechanism of social control for the corporatocracy. It's how the corporatocracy keeps us working class folks divided against each other and distracted from coming together and organizing our collective power. That's why it's a strategic imperative that all of us in the work of global justice, whether our focus is social justice, democratic justice, environmental justice, or animal justice, we must all develop a deep literacy in racial justice issues. The corporatocracy is our common enemy, and it'll take all of us working together across all sectors of global justice to dismantle the corporate corruption of our democracy. But we'll never be able to unite our causes until we all wake up and see how structural racism keeps all oppressed and repressed, distracted and divided. And that's where we think Tim does his best, most vital work. Tim's a uniter, and we're blessed and lucky he's on our side. So y'all be sure and check him out. Last Thursday on your daily wake-up call, we reviewed two big reports that came out last week. One was about the Afghanistan war, and the other was about rising income inequality. We compared and contrasted those reports and the way the corporate news outlets the New York Times and the Washington Post delivered those reports. What we found most interesting about those reports is what the news outlets left out of their coverage. Were you able to spot it too? It's a clever tactic of deceit by the corporate news media called lies by omission. They'll cover issues important to us, and they'll point out corruption we're familiar with, but they never get the punchline about how we actually end that corruption. And of course, they never point out the fact that it's the same corporate elites that own their news outlets that are ultimately responsible for all the corruption and fuckery that they're literally reporting about. In our podcast last week, we dug deeper into this tactic of lies by omission by the corporate news media. It was our Whistleblower Wednesday podcast, where each week we profile a different whistleblower. These are the brave activists who expose the secretive workings of the US-led corporatocracy during its takeover of our democracy. The whistleblower event we covered last Wednesday was about the faked poison gas attack in Douma, Syria in 2018. Two scientists were involved in the official investigation. They reported that the alleged poison gas attack was most likely a fake, staged event, and the evidence was most likely planted by a group called the White Helmets, a front group for the CIA. The corporate media had blamed the supposed attack on the Syrian government, and they called on President Trump to immediately retaliate. And within a few days, the US, France, and the UK, in a joint campaign, bombed over 150 government sites in Syria. And based on what the whistleblowers just revealed, it was all based on a big lie concocted by the CIA. And the big lies by omission is that no one in the corporate media covered the fact that these two whistleblowers have exposed the hoax. You can check out the details in our Whistleblower Wednesday podcast last week. It's fascinating and maddening stuff. Of course, the big news over the past weekend was the big election in the UK. It was a stunning defeat for Jeremy Corbyn, who was basically the Bernie Sanders type candidate running for Prime Minister of the UK. In the podcast tomorrow for your daily wake-up call, we're going to look into the massive smear campaign against Corbyn. It was conducted by the corporate media in the UK, and it definitely helped cause his defeat. And it's most likely an unfortunate preview of what's ahead for Bernie Sanders as he continues to take on the corporate Democrats in the Democratic primary next spring. You can go to our website at wakingjustice.org and sign up to get your daily wake-up call. We'll deliver it right to your inbox each day. Just fill out the quick form at the top right of our homepage, and each morning by 4:20 a.m., we'll email you a link and quick description of the podcast for that day. All right, y'all, that'll do it for today's podcast. If you like what you heard, please share it in your networks and help us get the word out. And if you want to learn more about how all of us in the work of global justice can join together in strategic boycott and force this corporatocracy to the people's bargaining table to end all this injustice, cruelty, and corruption, and to help save our planet, please check out our About page and listen to our first podcast. And for more info on how you can get involved, you can email us at info@wakingjustice.org. We'd love to hear from you, but we're running out of time, y'all. So join us. Peace.
You must be involved in the struggle for freedom and justice.
If it's about love, if it's about
Justice is waking, justice is rising. Justice is waking, justice is rising.
If it's about
Justice is waking, justice is rising. And it ain't just us, it's all of us. Justice is waking, justice is rising. And it ain't just us, it's all of us.
if it's about love.
May every soul unite, tend the fire and let all coals relight. I'm a citizen of the world and we fight for the rights of everybody to live a truly free life. Red or yellow, black or white, left or right, gay or straight, human or animal, all life. Cause what matters is what is in common. If you know it, stand tall and keep dropping the knowledge.
Justice is waking, justice is rising. And it ain't just us, it's all of us.
If it's about love.